Hello everyone, so this is another supplementary lesson for all of you. This video presentation is intended, of course, to help you with those unclarified and misunderstood lessons at school. Now, we will try to simplify everything as far as possible. Anyway, this video lesson is patterned with the Pivot for a Learner's Materials published by Gawaran, and we are now in the second quarter, week 1, lesson with the title Use Listening Strategies Based on Purpose, Familiarity with the topic and levels of difficulty of short text listened to. But before that, of course, we would like to welcome everyone, students who came by to this educational channel to learn, and also to my fellow teachers who are on the hunt for some teaching materials. Welcome everyone. So the materials needed for this class are the following. Of course, you need your English notebook, your pen, pad, paper, and of course, the most important of all, your undivided attention. Okay? Now, for the class objectives, number 1, of course, is that the students are expected to use active listening strategies based on purpose, based on familiarity with the topic, and the level of difficulty of short narrative text. For the second objective, the learners are expected to answer questions about content, key idea, details, and opinions. Also, the learners must show effective active listening behavior and predict the outcome of the listening text. Now, by reaching those objectives, maximum learning outcome will be ensured. Okay, so this is a game. This is a short game. We played it with accuracy for listening. We've done this in a classroom setup for 7 to 10 maximum. Okay, 7 to 10 minutes maximum without my students standing and causing noise around. Also, we can relate this game. We can relate this game to the difference between the reader and the listener later on, as described by Absalom. Okay. Now, for the sake of our learners, this module was written to cater to their level. And as you can see on the screen, lesson 1 and lesson 2. So there are 2 divisions in this module, 1 and 2. Week 1 will be listening strategies based on the purpose of short text listened to, while week 2, the lesson 2, listening strategies based on familiarity with the topic and level of difficulty of short text listened to. Now, after going through this module, you are expected, of course, to answer questions about content, key ideas, details, and opinion, show effective active listening behavior, listen effectively, note down, or yes, take note of the gist of the text and predict the outcome of the listening text. Also, follow instructions. Right? Now, for the direction of this, for the first part is the true or false. You just need to write true if the statement is correct and false if you think it's wrong. Okay. For the second part, answer the following questions. Do this in your paper and then choose the letter of the correct answer. So, say for example, number 6. So, this is the question. Listening is poor when, and then you have your options. Okay. All you have to do is to write down the letter of the correct answer. No need to copy the question itself. And that goes up to 10. Okay. Number 9 and 10. Okay. All right. And then after that, we have to we have to discuss the concepts and definition of this lesson. Okay. Now, listening triggers and enhances a child's oral skills before. When you were just little, you learn to speak by listening. How? Well, you imitate what you hear, and through repetitive practice, your oral skills developed over time. So we therefore acknowledge that listening played a very important role for us to develop the oral communication skills that we have nowadays. Okay? Now, in your previous lesson, you have learned the ability to scan and skim the text in order to find specific information using reading styles for one's purpose. Reading and listening are receptive skills. So why do we say they are receptive? They are receptive in a way that uh, we apply what we learned. Okay? While listening and reading share many comprehension processes, there are differences in the way the information is processed. We say that reading and listening are receptive because we apply the information that we learned from them. Okay? It is like a bottomless pail for the purposes of learning. Now, readers often remember more details and can go back to the text, while listeners construct understanding as they listen and often come away with an overall understanding of ideas. This was said by Richie and Absalom in 2008. This is the relevance of the game, Pass the Message, that we played before the start of the discussion. So the players sitting in front are the readers, and the rest of the players are the listeners. We saw the difference between them when the readers reread the given sentence for familiarization. Now, while the listeners do not have the same privilege, so that they so what they did rather is understood the totality of the message, then picture out what was the message, and lastly, reconstructing the given sentence as they understood it. Now, as an exercise, I have posted here 10 questions which you will be able to answer by critically listening to the audio. And the audio will be played now.
About COVID-19, coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that can cause illnesses ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome. A novel coronavirus is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans. Coronaviruses are zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted between animals and people. Detailed investigations found that SARS-CoV was transmitted from civet cats to humans and MERS-CoV from dromedary camels to humans. Several known coronaviruses are circulating in animals that have not yet infected humans. Common signs of infection include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, the infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. Standard recommendations to prevent infection spread include regular hand washing, covering mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing, and thoroughly cooking meat and eggs. Avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness such as coughing and sneezing.
Now, okay, so after that audio, um, let us see what is this listening skills all about. Now, everyone understands that listening is an essential skills for effective leadership, but not many realize that there are many ways to listen to someone. Now, what are these ways or types of listening? Later on, we will find out as the discussion progresses. Now we have here the 5 key active listening techniques. Let us study them one by one. First, we have paying attention. Okay. Give the speaker your undivided attention and acknowledge the message. Recognize that nonverbal communication also speaks loudly. Okay, next is showing that you really are listening. Use your own body language and gestures to show that you are engaged. Encourage the speaker to continue with small verbal communications like yes and uh-huh. Next on our list is to provide uh, feedback. Our personal filters, our assumptions, our judgment, and beliefs can distort what we hear. As a listener, your role is to understand what is being said. This may require you to reflect on what is being said and to ask more questions. Okay? Then we have to defer our judgment. Okay? Interrupting is a waste of time. It frustrates the speaker and limits the full understanding of the message. And lastly, we respond appropriately. Okay? Active listening is designed to encourage respect and understanding. You are gaining nothing. Uh, you are gaining information and perspective, and you add nothing by attacking the speaker or otherwise putting her down. And of course, as a courtesy, never forget to say thank you. So those are the five key active listening techniques. Now we're going to proceed with the four types of listening. So what are those? Let us see. Okay, the first one we have is, all right, going back. Okay. So the first one we have is, of course, the critical. No, not there. Let's start there. Okay. The first one that we have is, of course, the appreciative listening, followed by the empathic listening, and we have comprehensive active listening, and lastly, of course, we have the critical analytical listening. But let's go through them one by one. Let us first discuss what is appreciative listening. Okay, appreciative listening is actually listening for pleasure, just like when you are listening to music or to a comedy routine or to an entertaining speech. It also describes how well the speaker chooses and uses words, uses humor, asks questions, tells stories, and argue persuasively. So basically, the key word here is listening for pleasure. Okay? So you're not focusing on the speaker himself or herself. Rather, your focus is how he or she delivers the message, how he uses the word, how he uses his facial expression, her humor, the way he asks questions. That's your focus in appreciative listening. Okay. Now, next we have is empathic listening. What do we mean by empathic listening? Empathic listening, the purpose of such is to provide emotional support for the speaker. As when a psychiatrist listens to a patient, or when we lend a sympathetic ear to a friend. Now, the focus of empathic listening, of course, is to understand and identify with a person's situation, feelings, or motives. Okay? So just like when you are listening to your friend's problems, personal problems, so his purpose is to get emotional support from you, and your role there in that kind of communication is, of course, to provide emotional support to the speaker. Okay. Now, next we have the comprehensive active listening. So, what do we mean by comprehensive active listening? In comprehensive active listening, we listen to understand the message of a speaker. As when we attend to a classroom lecture or listen to a direction for finding a friend's house rather. Now the focus of such is on accuracy, accurately understanding the meaning of the speaker's word while simultaneously interpreting nonverbal cues such as the facial expressions, gestures, postures, and vocal quality. So, just like the first type of the key active listening steps, it tells us that uh, nonverbal communication speaks loudly the same as the verbal communication that we have. Okay. And then we have the last type of listening, and that is the critical analytical listening. Listening to evaluate a message for a purpose of accepting or rejecting it. Okay? As when we are listening to the sales pitch of a used car dealer or the campaign speech of a political candidate. Okay? The focus of such is to evaluate whether the message is logical or reasonable. Okay? And also we use the critical thinking skills that we have whenever we are critically and analytically listening. And so, those are the four types of listening. Okay, namely appreciative listening, empathic listening, comprehensive listening, and we have lastly the critical analytical listening. Now, for the examples, for the critical analytical listening, example, you get relaxed all the time that you listen to your favorite song, All of Me by John Legend. Also, Sheena feels motivated when she listens to the speech of the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. And lastly, Raver always listens to Moira's playlist because he loves her voice. So that's what we call the the first type of listening, which is the appreciative listening. Okay. All right. Now, here is the activity. This is the bookmark making video. An audio will be played, and the students are supposed to follow the directions after each direction had been given to them. Okay? Listen to these simple steps on how to create bookmarks. Follow each step as you listen. Refer to the rubrics below the criteria. Get ready to submit your work later. So, for the criteria, of course, we have the creativity. Three is the highest, one is the lowest. The originality, of course, and then the neatness of the byproduct. And, all right. So we're going to play the audio and then proceed with the next part later on.
How to make a bookmark. 1. Prepare your materials. Craft scissors, card, glue, pattern paper, art papers, colored pens or crayons. 2. Cut out the basic shape. Bookmarks and books should be the same size. Get the actual size of the book and use the best shape and design you want. 3. Choose your nice pattern paper. You can have floral patterns and other paper designs that will enhance your work. Choose the design you like best. 4. Cut out and glue the pattern paper. Use the bookmark base as a width reference. Choose the shapes and details you want and cut them carefully. 5. Decorate with any and all pens at your disposal. Make it attractive and appealing. Mix the best color combinations you can make the best bookmark. 6. You are mostly done. Cover the bookmark with clear tape to make this marking tool last longer. Enjoy bookmarking and enjoy reading.
All right. So after following the instructions in bookmark making, now you have to create a very simple slogan or quote or sayings uh, on your slogan, and it has something to do with how to prevent a COVID-19, how to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Okay, those that slogan. Okay, so before that, you have to answer the following questions. Why do you think some students do not listen in class? Now, in your own words, wrap it up in 5 sentences. And also for question number 2, what particular value is displayed when listening takes place? Give only one one answer and then elaborate. Okay. All right. So the next one is the 10 steps on how to develop effective listening. So I will be playing an audio, and then all you have to do is to uh, complete the sentence on column A by combining the proper word which is located in column B.
Here are 10 tips to help you develop effective listening skills. Step 1. Face the speaker and maintain eye contact. Talking to someone while they scan the room, study a computer screen, or gaze out the window is like trying to hit a moving target. How much of the person's divided attention you are actually getting? 50%? 5%? If the person were your child, you might demand, and quote, look at me when I'm talking to you, and quote, but that's not the sort of thing we say to a lover, friend, or colleague. In most Western cultures, eye contact is considered a basic ingredient of effective communication. When we talk, we look each other in the eye. That doesn't mean that you can't carry on a conversation from across the room, or from another room, but if the conversation continues for any length of time, you, or the other person, will get up and move. The desire for better communication pulls you together. Do your conversational partners the courtesy of turning to face them. Put aside papers, books, the phone, and other distractions. Look at them. Even if they don't look at you. Shyness, uncertainty, shame, guilt, or other emotions, along with cultural taboos, can inhibit eye contact in some people under some circumstances. Excuse the other guy, but stay focused yourself. Step 2. Be attentive, but relaxed. Now that you've made eye contact, relax. You don't have to stare fixedly at the other person. You can look away now and then, and carry on like a normal person. The important thing is to be attentive. The dictionary says that to and quote, attend and quote, another person means to be present. Give attention. Apply or direct yourself. Pay attention. Remain ready to serve. Mentally screen out distractions, like background activity and noise. In addition, try not to focus on the speaker's accent or speech mannerisms to the point where they become distractions. Finally, don't be distracted by your own thoughts, feelings, or biases. Step 3. Keep an open mind. Listen without judging the other person or mentally criticizing the things she tells you. If what she says alarms you, go ahead and feel alarmed, but don't say to yourself, and quote, well, that was a stupid move, and quote, as soon as you indulge in judgmental bemusements, you've compromised your effectiveness as a listener. Listen without jumping to conclusions. Remember that the speaker is using language to represent the thoughts and feelings inside her brain. You don't know what those thoughts and feelings are, and the only way you'll find out is by listening. Don't be a sentence grabber. Occasionally my partner can't slow his mental pace enough to listen effectively, so he tries to speed up mine by interrupting and finishing my sentences. This usually lands him way off base, because he is following his own train of thought and doesn't learn where my thoughts are headed. After a couple of rounds of this, I usually ask, and quote, do you want to have this conversation by yourself, or do you want to hear what I have to say? And quote, I wouldn't do that with everyone, but it works with him. Step 4. Listen to the words and try to picture what the speaker is saying. Allow your mind to create a mental model of the information being communicated. Whether a literal picture or an arrangement of abstract concepts, your brain will do the necessary work if you stay focused, with senses fully alert. When listening for long stretches, concentrate on, and remember, keywords and phrases. When it's your turn to listen, don't spend the time planning what to say next. You can't rehearse and listen at the same time. Think only about what the other person is saying. Finally, concentrate on what is being said, even if it bores you. If your thoughts start to wander, immediately force yourself to refocus. Step 5. Don't interrupt and don't impose your end quote solutions. End quote. Children used to be taught that it's rude to interrupt. I'm not sure that message is getting across anymore. Certainly, the opposite is being modeled on the majority of talk shows and reality programs, where loud, aggressive, in-your-face behavior is condoned, if not encouraged. Interrupting sends a variety of messages. It says, end quote, I'm more important than you are. End quote, end quote. What I have to say is more interesting, accurate, or relevant. End quote, end quote. I don't really care what you think. End quote, end quote. I don't have time for your opinion. End quote, end quote. This isn't a conversation, it's a contest, and I'm going to win. End quote. We all think and speak at different rates. If you are a quick thinker and an agile talker, the burden is on you to relax your pace for the slower, more thoughtful communicator, or for the guy who has trouble expressing himself. When listening to someone talk about a problem, refrain from suggesting solutions. Most of us don't want your advice anyway. If we do, we'll ask for it. Most of us prefer to figure out our own solutions. We need you to listen and help us do that. Somewhere way down the line, if you are absolutely bursting with a brilliant solution, at least get the speaker's permission. Ask, end quote, would you like to hear my ideas? End quote. Step 6. Wait for the speaker to pause to ask clarifying questions. When you don't understand something, of course, you should ask the speaker to explain it to you. But rather than interrupt, wait until the speaker pauses. Then say something like, end quote, back up a second. I didn't understand what you just said about, end quote. Step 7. Ask questions only to ensure understanding. At lunch, a colleague is excitedly telling you about her trip to Vermont and all the wonderful things she did and saw. In the course of this chronicle, she mentions that she spent some time with a mutual friend. You jump in with, end quote, oh, I haven't heard from Alice in ages. How is she? End quote. And, just like that, discussion shifts to Alice and her divorce and the poor kids, which leads to a comparison of custody laws, and before you know it an hour is gone and Vermont is a distant memory. This particular conversational affront happens all the time. Our questions lead people in directions that have nothing to do with where they thought they were going. Sometimes we work our way back to the original topic, but very often we don't. When you notice that your question has led the speaker astray, take responsibility for getting the conversation back on track by saying something like, end quote, it was great to hear about Alice, but tell me more about your adventure in Vermont. End quote. Step 8. Try to feel what the speaker is feeling. If you feel sad when the person with whom you are talking expresses sadness, joyful when she expresses joy, fearful when she describes her fears, and convey those feelings through your facial expressions and words. Then your effectiveness as a listener is assured. Empathy is the heart and soul of good listening. To experience empathy, you have to put yourself in the other person's place and allow yourself to feel what it is like to be her at that moment. This is not an easy thing to do. It takes energy and concentration. But it is a generous and helpful thing to do, and it facilitates communication like nothing else does. Step 9. Give the speaker regular feedback. Show that you understand where the speaker is coming from by reflecting the speaker's feelings. And quote, you must be thrilled. And quote, what a terrible ordeal for you. And quote, I can see that you are confused. And quote, if the speaker's feelings are hidden or unclear, then occasionally paraphrase the content of the message. Or just nod and show your understanding through appropriate facial expressions and an occasional well-timed and quote, and quote, or and quote, and quote. The idea is to give the speaker some proof that you are listening, and that you are following her train of thought, not off indulging in your own fantasies while she talks to the ether. In task situations, regardless of whether at work or home, always restate instructions and messages to be sure you understand correctly. Step 10. Pay attention to what isn't said. 2. Nonverbal cues. If you exclude email, the majority of direct communication is probably nonverbal. We glean a great deal of information about each other without saying a word. Even over the telephone, you can learn almost as much about a person from the tone and cadence of her voice than from anything she says. When I talk to my best friend, it doesn't matter what we chat about. If I hear a lilt and laughter in her voice, I feel reassured that she's doing well. Face to face with a person, you can detect enthusiasm, boredom, or irritation very quickly in the expression around the eyes, the set of the mouth, the slope of the shoulders. These are clues you can't ignore. When listening, remember that words convey only a fraction of the message. Listening skills exercise. Summarize, summarize, summarize. For at least 1 week, at the end of every conversation in which information is exchanged, conclude with a summary statement. In conversations that result in agreements about future obligations or activities, summarizing will not only ensure accurate follow through, it will feel perfectly natural. In conversations that do not include agreements, if summarizing feels awkward, just explain that you are doing it as an exercise.
Okay, so we're almost done here. Okay, now let us review what you can do more by arranging the given steps after listening to an instruction. For activity 5, complete me directions. The 10 steps on how to develop effective listening will be read, and then for number 2, listen carefully, and then number 3, complete each sentence in column A by choosing an appropriate word or phrase in column B. Use a separate sheet for your answer. And of course, for the assessment, activity number 6, tell me the story. Fill in the performance checklist for listening comprehension while listening to a short passage, Big Sister by Consorcio Borjeto. To be read thrice for you. Copy and answer the chart in a separate paper. All right, so the Big Sister, written by Consorcio Borjito, will be played for 3 times. And after the last time, after the last time that we are playing that audio rather, you're supposed to complete the table, the checklist for listening comprehension.
Big Sister by Consorcio Borjeto. The 18-year-old big sister, Ensheng, helps the 12-year-old brother prepare his stuff for the travel to vegan. In the process, Ensheng recalls her hardship in tending to the needs of her only brother. Their mother has passed away giving birth to the brother of Ensheng, so she acts as the mother to Itong. The father never married again and spends his time tilling their land and helping in the everyday sustenance of the family. Itong needs to go to school, and being a valedictorian graduate in the Barrio Elementary School, there is a need for him to pursue not only his dream but more so of the dreams of the family members for him to become a doctor or a lawyer. Ensheng feels in pain soon being apart from her brother for the first time. The rest of the family and more of Ensheng display support, love, concern, and care for Itong. He left the first time and the rest of the neighborhood turned up to the bus station. Ensheng is in so much emotional pain seeing his brother leave for vegan, but she displayed a firm attitude as everyone bids the boy goodbye. A year has passed and Itong returns to the barrio. He displays an eagerness to see his old friends and Ensheng notices everything. After a few more years and Itong has grown taller and bigger, simultaneously he has changed in a way that he is no longer very tactile to his sister. Ensheng is affected and she observes more yet accepts that change is indeed inevitable. The family needs to live a life despite the changes and Nina comes to the scene, someone whom she feels could be her sister.
Alright, so here's another activity for you. We will be playing a short audio. This time the title of this audio, it's actually a short story. Okay, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. And then later on you are supposed to answer one question. You're supposed to answer one question. And that is, how many times did the boy played trick to the villagers? Okay?
The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Once upon a time, a shepherd boy tended his master's sheep near a dark forest not far from the village. Soon he found his days in the pasture very dull. There is no one to talk with, and there is nothing to do, he would moan. All he could do was talk to his dog or play on his shepherd's pipe. One day as he sat watching the sheep and the quiet forest, he thought of a plan to amuse himself. His master had told him to call for help if a wolf should attack the flock, and the villagers would come running to drive it away. If I alert the village that a wolf is here, people will come. Then I'll have lots of people to talk to, and what fun it will be. The shepherd boy thought. So, though he had not seen anything that even looked like a wolf, he ran toward the village shouting at the top of his voice, "Wolf! Wolf!" As expected, the villagers who heard the shepherd boy's cry dropped their work and made for the pasture with great haste. But when they got there they found the boy doubled up with laughter at the trick he had played on them. A few days later the shepherd boy again shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" Once more the villagers ran to help him, only to find that they had again been tricked. Then, one evening as the sun was setting behind the forest and the shadows were creeping out over the pasture, a wolf really did jump out from the underbrush and start chasing the sheep. The boy ran toward the village shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" But though the villagers heard the cry, they did not run to help him as they had before. "He cannot fool us again," they said. The wolf carried away a sheep into the forest. That day the shepherd boy learned an important lesson: if you desire people to believe and trust what you say, you must always be truthful.
Now for your homework, I would like you to read the 6 strategies to improve your listening skills written on your module. And that's it. Thank you. See you next time. I hope you learned much in this video. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.